Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Cochlear Southeast Asia's live chat session. So, my name's Renato, and I'll be your host for the evening. So, this series of live chat session came about as we aim to raise more hearing health awareness, and so we can support more people out there who may be looking for solutions for their hearing loss. If you've missed our previous live chat sessions, you can still watch them on our Cochlear Southeast Asia Facebook page. Okay. Tonight, we'll be sharing our spotlight on another cochlear recipient who will share with us how the cochlear implant helped her regain her hearing and be able to reconnect with her loved ones. Uh, Since this is a live session, we encourage you all to write your questions and comments in our chat box. Please be reminded that we also have a lucky draw. So we're giving away one Bluetooth speakers to one lucky winner. So to join the lucky draw, you can still join by registering using the link that you can see below the screen. And we will be announcing the winner at the end of the session. Okay. So I'm very excited to introduce two of our guests for today. So Audrey and Kai Ping.
Hello.
Hello,
Hello.
Audrey. Hi, Kai Ping. Yeah, it's really nice. Thank you for sharing your Friday evening with us to share your story. So Audrey is 62 years old who had hearing loss in her late 20s due to autosclerosis. She underwent a series of ear surgeries to fix her hearing loss. It was initially successful, but then over time it still deteriorated. So in her, she started using hearing aids in her 40s, um, and only got her cochlear implant 2.5 years ago. Okay? So she was a finance manager prior and now a retiree. Okay? We also have Audrey's husband, Kai Ping. Uh, they've been happily married for 40 years. They have two children and one grandchild. So we're very happy that also Kai Ping, you can join us to share your perspective about hearing loss as well. So let's get started. Maybe we can start off by sharing with us how did the two of you meet? Share us your love story.
Okay. Actually, I met my husband Kai Bing when we were both in our 20s. We met each other at the audit company because we are both working there. And I joined earlier. And he was actually being assigned his first job after his graduation, and was with me, partnering with me in this audit company. Auditing the client's accounts. And I think it's maybe I'm a very outgoing person, and he's like a man of few words. And I think it's likely love at first sight that he actually courted me.
Yeah.
So during those days, after a few years, he actually popped up the question. Instead of asking me, he said, "Will you marry me?" He actually asked me, "Should we apply for HDB flats?" So I guess that is the era, those days, and during the time that, when a guy asks you to apply for HD flats, it means he wants to spend the rest of his life with you. So I actually agreed, and we got married 4 years after patrolling for 4 years. We got married, and we have two children. Our daughter is 31 years old, and she's the mother of a 6-year-old boy. And our son is 30 years old.
Okay. Yeah. So, Kai Ping, was that very accurate how Audrey described it? Do you have any additional your side of the story?
No, I think it's correct. I mean, Audrey is a very attractive person back then. Even now, of course, still very attractive. I think you all agree. So you can, and also her character is bubbly, just like now. Yeah, it wasn't so. I think sometime back later we will share. Yeah, but it's very bubbly. And she likes to crack jokes. She's a good conversationalist. Yeah, that's what really attracted me to her. Yeah.
I see. So yeah, I mean, I can really see how bubbly Audrey is. But then Kai Ping, when did you notice that there was a change in Audrey's hearing? Was there any specific incident that made you think, what's happening? This is getting serious?
No, I think hearing loss was quite gradual, because there will come to a stage where it become obvious. Yeah. So I think the thing that the realization came when we had to repeat, what we say to each other. I had to repeat myself, to her, and then we began to realize something is not quite correct, not quite right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Audrey? Was there anything that what did you notice at that time? Did you hear more people asking you, is there anything
Yeah,
wrong?
actually, I realized that something was not right when during my work, right? I actually had my boss keep telling me, I think something wrong with your hearing, because when I call you, sometimes you cannot hear. Sometimes phone, is so soft. So these are things that really make me realize that, because it never occurred to me that I have hearing problem, because none of my siblings have this problem. So it's like it doesn't strike me. It didn't strike me until somebody keep telling me. So my mother-in-law also told me, "Hey, something wrong." So that was like something that I think seriously I have to, that because people tell us, then I really take note and say, yeah, I think I have to admit that there's something wrong with my hearing.
So that's, I guess, yeah, how it affected your work as a finance manager. But how about at home as a wife or as a mother who needs to look after the kids? Did you experience any challenges in that area?
Yeah, because actually after I went for the surgery, right, my hearing was okay. That was in 1998 when I had my surgery. But in 1988, I had my right ear steppy operation. And after 10 years, suddenly my right ear hearing went off. And it was a very it's a shocking experience for me, because I was going into the office and suddenly I realized that why the surrounding became so soft, the sound coming. So I was panicking. I went to the doctor and she said that you have lost your hearing on my right ear. And that was really a very depressing moment for me, because my job was also quite stressful. And then I have to manage my two children. They were still very young then. So at that time, I tell myself, how am I going to cope with my life with 1 year? Because the other ear hearing was not very good, my left ear. It was like 60%. So at that time, I was not wearing hearing aids. So I was I was having hearing on both ears. So after that, I decided to resign from my job and maybe take a break, because I was really very down, very, very down. So I quit my job and then stay at home for a while.
Okay. How did, was it a difficult decision for you? Did you enjoy working at that time, or now you can spend more time with the kids? How did it feel like?
Yeah, but it's still challenging, because at that time I only have one left ear hearing. So it's still quite it's still not so good because of communication. You can't really hear. So at the end, I decided to wear a hearing aid. So after that, I decided to wear hearing aid on my left ear, so that to actually enhance my hearing, so that at least I can communicate with people. So I then went back to work in an MNC company in year 2000. In year 2000, after wearing the hearing. But I was very thankful to my bosses, who are very supportive, and my colleagues, who are actually always, help me out, because with 1 year hearing is quite a challenge, especially we have to deal with conference call, telephone call, and meetings. But I was quite glad that I managed to go through this and able to work. And I decided to then quit my job in 2017 and to pursue my interest and maybe to travel. So that is something, that was what I did. I retired in 2017.
Okay.
Sorry, 2013. Sorry, 2013.
2013. Okay. So how did you get to know about cochlear implants, and what was the wake up call that made you decide to go for cochlear implants?
Okay, so I was that time, I was enjoying myself. I went for holiday, and it was when I was actually holidaying in US in 2017 with my sister. And I don't know whether is it because due to jet lag and very severe fatigue, I couldn't sleep. And it was in the midst of traveling, visiting one sightseeing. We were actually sightseeing. I suddenly developed this giddiness, and then I quickly took some medicine. But during the night, when I woke up, I felt that my hearing suddenly dropped, and there was very loud tinnitus in my ear, and I panicked because I really could not hear.
Mm,
So at that moment, I don't know what to do. So I had my husband have to fly to US to actually escort me back to Singapore, because
mm,
it was like, can you imagine suddenly your world becomes silent and you
mm,
cannot communicate. So the only way is that we actually have to message each other. So it's very, very frustrating for me as well as for him. So I cannot imagine myself coming back to Singapore alone, because at the airport, I couldn't even hear the announcement. So of me
mm,
just reading, but sometimes they may call your names or whatever. So I told myself, hey, so how am I going to cope with life, And I
mm,
was really very, very down. I think it was the lowest point in my life, and a lot of thoughts and fear come to me. I asked myself, how am I going to connect with the world? How am I going
mm,
to communicate with my family members, my friends? What about my church service, my Bible study? And what about my grandson? Can I
mm,
even hear him call me Papa? I
mm,
mean, it's like at that moment, I felt so hopeless and in despair. So I think that is the darkest, I would say, the lowest point in my life.
Really, wow. Can only imagine. But Kaiping, how about for you? How did you feel during that time? So I understand that you also had to, take leave from work to support her and bring her back home. Can you describe how it was like?
Yeah, I think when this happened so suddenly, right, I was in a stage of confusion. So the only thing I could do was to fly up. I took 1.5 months of no pay leave, because during those days, right, she is not certified fit to travel back, because she may just get a bout of vertigo. So
Mm,
it's very dangerous for her to travel. I had to be there to make sure that there's a doctor who certify that she is fit to travel before you can come back.
mm,
Yeah.
mm,
So of course, during those so-called dark ages, her hearing was really bad. So it's like almost total deafness,
mm,
and that came part of our thinking. What would be the next step, because we can't have this situation. If there's some kind of solution or cure to this,
mm,
we want to pursue it. Like, so of course we did. I think prior to a hearing loss, total hearing loss, the ENT doctor did mention about the cochlear implant, but we actually thought nothing of it, because we still had 1 year, at that
mm,
time it's all, we didn't think that there's a need to do an implant. But what got me going was during those days in the States and US and Canada, I had to do a lot of research. I
mm,
tried to Google about what is this cochlear implant, and was quite uh, happy to know that actually a lot of people did regain their hearing.
okay.
So that's where they kick off the idea, of
Yeah.
getting this cochlear implant.
Okay. Yeah. So how about for you, Audrey? Was there any fears about surgery? And how did you overcome them?
Okay, so actually, when I came back, right, I still do not want to, because that time talk about CI. I mean, that was like people say, but it doesn't really, I'm not really focused about this. So I just want to wear hearing aid. So I went to my audiologist, and he actually fitted me with a very powerful hearing aid. But he did tell me, Audrey, you should consider CI because your hearing is quite bad. Okay, so after wearing the hearing aid on my left ear, I still find that it's a challenge to actually communicate, especially when in group social, in your social, gathering with friends. You sometimes they joke, then you try to gather what they say, then they laugh, and then you like so. I feel so like full, like just sometimes like blur what they're talking. And it's not nice for them to repeat because jokes once you have second, it's no
Not,
longer
not as funny anymore.
yeah. So I think at that time, but I think I pray about it. But I think God is being gracious because there was a lot of people telling me, because even my Bible study friends who actually keep persuading me and say, Audrey, I think you should consider CI because my friend's daughter benefited so much. And one of them was so kind to actually give me an article on CI to let me read. So I think with this persuasion and encouragement, I decided to then go for to consult the EMT doctor. And when I actually met up with my EMT doctor, I think he said something that really struck, a chord in my heart. He told me very, very sincerely, he said that, Audrey, you have lost your right ear hearing for 20 years. I don't think you will be able to gain your hearing back. Why don't you consider CI? I think there's a possibility, that you can actually, hear. Currently, your hearing is 0. If the CI can bring your hearing to at least 50%, isn't that something that you should consider? So I think at that moment, when I heard this, I was telling myself, yeah, maybe there's hope, because if the doctor can tell me that, hey, there is a possibility, there's a chance. So why not I grab this chance? And I think I was also, in a way, quite blessed because coincidentally, the hospital was actually having this CI recipient gathering. So I was asked to join. And actually, it's an eye opener because when I see so many CI patients ranging from young to as old as 80 years old, and they are so confident and they are talking about their journey, all the life story, I was like really very encouraged. And the thing that struck me and impressed me very much was this 80-year-old lady. She had a cochlear surgery and she was very, very joyful and confident. And she was like chatting away and then telling us the story until the doctor said, I think you have to keep quiet. I think it's enough. So the doctor was telling us, she used to be so quiet and reserved. Now she's talk non-stop. So to our amusement, and we all kept laughing. So I think this was the thing that I really see the positiveness in the people. And I also had the opportunity to talk to other CI recipients on a one-to-one basis. So I asked them a lot of questions. They were very nice. They shared their journey with me. So with all this information that I have, I tell myself, yes, I think I should go for it. And in September 2018, I actually had my CI surgery.
Okay.
So that
And
is
now,
the,
yeah.
yeah.
Now I can imagine if there's another support group like that, you will be same as that 80-year-old who will
Yeah.
be cheering the group. It's really nice to hear.
Yes.
But yeah, so having met some cochlear implant recipients, what was your expectation of sound before the surgery? And how was it like the first time you heard with a cochlear implant?
Okay, I actually after my surgery, right, when I was asked they have to on my device, right, and I was sitting in this room with Kai Bing. So when I actually on the sound, and Kai Bing was beside me, he was very anxious. Can you hear? Can you hear anything? So I was like, yeah, I can hear. So I think at that moment, I was very elated because to me, my ear has been like sleeping for 20 years. So suddenly when you can hear sound, it was like, hey, really something marvelous, right? I mean, it's so fantastic. So at that time, I tell myself, yeah, maybe I just have to be patient. As long as I can hear sound, I think there's really the assurance given to me. So that was so after that, after the CI, I actually also I realized that, so the expectation of sound before surgery was that, okay, I just leave it. I say as long as can hear, it's okay. But I find that after I have the CI, a few months later, I can hear all kinds, especially soft sound, which I never hear before. So it's like sometimes when people are washing, I say, hey, why you so noisy? Last time I never complained. I was like, hey, why so noisy? I can hear all this, the water trickling, then the thing moving. I mean, like people drag things. So these are sound that I can hear. Yeah.
Maybe maybe my question is, how did Kai Ping's voice sound like the first time you heard it?
Okay, actually, when I first heard him, he was like sound like the Star Wars,
Darth Vader.
Darth
Darth
Vader.
Vader.
So I was like, whoa. So I was like at first not used to it, but I think the doctor did tell me that you have to be patient because our brain is a very marvelous organ. It will adapt. So I just tell myself, I think in time things will be better. Yeah. So I just have to be confident and be positive.
How about you, Kai Ping? Was there? Can you describe what was that like during her switch on? How did you feel?
Yeah, like I said, our expectation were not that she will be able to get 100% of hearing. Our expectation is that if you can hear some sound, that's starting point. Because we have been told also that it has to be gradual. Nobody has switch it on then immediately can have 100% hearing on the right ear because it's mechanical. You need your brain to adjust. There will be a period of transition. Yeah,
Okay.
but of course we are happy because it's 20 years with no sound and there's sound. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, Audrey, maybe a follow-up question. What did you look forward to after you received your cochlear implant? Was there any sounds that surprised you, and what activities were you looking forward to doing again?
Okay. Actually, the sound. You see, actually, last time when I was wearing my hearing aid, right? When I traveled to this when I was in the MRT station, even in the train itself, sometimes the announcement, right, when I hear was like a bit muffled. So I always have to ask, hey, what is that announcement? What's the announcement? I can't really hear. So sometimes even in the train, right, then they say the stop, I have to watch out because I may miss because like maybe Utrum, I heard something Dover or whatever. But I think after with the CI, right, I can hear much, much better. So now I don't have to worry because even my husband was surprised. He said, hey, that guy, the announcement was talking about the social distance. I said, hey, how come you can hear? And then in the train now I can actually not worry because which stop, I can hear quite clearly which stop. So I can actually, maybe read my message, maybe watch video on my handphone without to worry.
Okay. That's nice.
And also the other thing is that I also like it because with the Cochlear right now, with the handphone, last time handphone I have to on, switch on. So now I have to use the device that actually connect, so I can hear clearly with using my phone with talking over the phone with others. So that is something that I find is really the quality of life.
Okay. Wow, very interesting. I mean, yeah, some things we take for granted, just taking the train and then, ignoring all the sounds. But yeah, it's really nice to hear that you can hear all that now. Next question. For Kai Ping, we know that for adult recipients, the brain takes time to adjust to get used to hearing with a cochlear implant. How did you help Audrey in this area?
Okay, I mean the audiologists normally they will recommend this like a book, where they give you certain words and you try to read this to the patient and to train the ear, because they'll be like testing your ability to hear vowels and consonants also.
Okay.
T's and D, like a dog and talk, Yeah, so there's a routine, but you have to go through it. It's quite challenging, because in the beginning the patient will not be able to, or they
Hear.
will pick out all this sound. It takes time. Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. So besides that, of course, we felt that doesn't work all the time. So we thought about the other aids. So we actually got the radio, like this, quite a simple one, cheap and good, get from the online store. And then
To help in training her
close your
hearing.
eyes, you listen to the news. You close your eyes, you listen to the news, and try to pick up what the speaker, the news reader is talking. I think that's very effective. Yeah. And there's also other apps like you can download on your iPad. They will test. You press the button. If you get it right, that the speaker will speak. They will give you a word, and then you try to listen and see whether you get the right answer. A four multiple choice question. Yeah. So if you hit the button, you get it right, you get a buzzer sound. Yeah. And they'll rate your score at the end of it. Yeah. So all these are interesting training aids. Yeah.
Okay. So what I hear is that really it needs to be a tag team. So it's good that you have each other to really support and train each other and be patient with one another. Yeah. So, okay, Kaiping, have a follow-up question. So what's the most noticeable change that you've observed with Audrey since she got her cochlear implant?
I think is the most noticeable is the restoration of her bubbly character.
Bubbliness.
Yeah, but I think if you can't hear what people are saying, you will be a social outcast, of so to speak. You won't like to join in. You will be less willing to talk to each other and tell joke, relate story, and all that. So I think this is the main thing, that the most important thing, that you get back your self-confidence and you begin to socialize more and get back your normal life, because life before that was, we say, abnormal. Now you can lead a normal life, so we're very happy with that.
Okay. Really nice to hear. Oh yeah, go ahead, Audrey.
So I think the thing is that I always feel that because that time when I was having hearing problem, I always have to rely on people to be my hearing ear. So it's actually, to me, it's a burden.
Yeah.
And I do not want to impose on others because I feel very bad. But sometimes I have no choice. So I'm glad that, now I think we have conversation without asking, what do you say? So it was more like a more enjoyable conversation and bonding. So my children too. So I think this is something that really give me this joy and confidence, because then it makes me happier, and then I see life as more what should I say, beautiful.
Yeah. Audrey, maybe my last question before we go and check the questions from the audience. With your positive CI experience, would you have considered getting a cochlear implant much earlier?
Actually, if I have, because at that time when I have my hearing aid, you tend to be a bit complacent, right? You say it's okay, just rely on it. But if I have all this knowledge about CI, I would have definitely gone for it earlier, because my quality of life would have been better. I would have more years to enjoy rather than doing it in my 60. So that is something that, if with all this information, if people can tell me about this, I would definitely go for the CI much earlier. Yeah.
Okay. So thank you both for sharing your story with us. So I'm sure many people out there who know someone with hearing loss can relate, one way or another. Now let's see from the audience what questions they have in store for us. Oh, we have a question here. How difficult was it to accept that the loss was permanent and then to take action?
I think it's definitely very, very difficult to accept that loss, especially when my right ear, right? At that time, yes, my left ear was having, so with able to hear, so but on the right ear is totally permanent loss. It's definitely not easy to accept because you feel that something missing in your life. You can't even connect. So sometimes when you hear, you have to turn, and then you have to people talking on your right, you cannot hear. You have to turn to actually catch what people are saying. And to take action is that, as I mentioned that earlier, if you feel that you have this permanent loss, I think you should consider having CI, which can actually, give you better quality of life. I mean, can help you to connect with the world. And I think that is something that is people should consider.
At least, yeah. Now, if ever that happens, there is a solution out there. Yeah. Let's see now. Any another question? From Jean, what factors do you consider when deciding to go from hearing aids to cochlear implants?
I think at that time, I think the factors that affected me is basically when I consult the doctor. Okay, the doctor able to help me, I think, to restore. I mean, he has given me this so-called this hope. And also the CI, because I talked to so many people, the CI recipients, hearing their life story, their journey, and a lot of positiveness that come from it. So that's why, and then also because Cochlear has been, I think some of the, like, for example, have been in the market for so many years. So there's actually being tested and being tried. So I think it's the reliability. So all these factors come in and then make me say, yeah, because for me, my right ear is totally gone. So hearing it also cannot help me. So the only choice that I have option is to go CI. So with all these factors, I actually go ahead with the surgery.
So you mentioned about reliability. That's good. Now it made me remember that you mentioned you're celebrating almost 40 years wedding anniversary. Is
Yeah,
that correct? Yeah.
38,
Cochlear is also celebrating our 40 years anniversary this year.
yeah.
I think I have another question here. From Karen. How long did it take for you to adjust to the cochlear implant?
Actually, for me, because I've passed surgery on both my ears, so I take a little bit longer than other people. It took me about maybe about 9 months. Okay, 9 months to be able to hear better and to adjust to the CI because my case is a bit what should I say, peculiar in the sense because it's 20 years and I had 2 operations on my right ear. So I think the nerves, everything, brain also need to adjust. So I think it is at the end, to me, is that I'm able to hear. I think it takes me a while, but be patient. And then now I actually see I reap, because of patience, I reap the so-called the fruits, able to hear.
Okay. And I guess, yeah, like Kaiping mentioned earlier, a lot of that getting used to requires a lot of time and effort in retraining. So yeah, it's really nice to have someone to support you during that first few months to get adjusted. Okay, I think I have another question. From Karen. What did you miss most when you couldn't hear well?
Actually,
Besides Kaiping's voice.
yeah, he never whispers sweet nothings to my ear.
Well, it doesn't miss my snore, of course.
yeah. So I think miss most is because I think at that time music and then maybe like conversation, because by nature I'm an active person. I like to connect with people. So sometimes when I cannot hear well, right, we don't want to be like people, to misunderstand what people say, and then after that we get misunderstood, and people may get, like, hey, why is this person, so I think I just, to talk about hearing, what miss, I think miss is the interaction, the conversation with people, because even like, for example, sometimes we go out, we buy things, sometimes we ask people, say something, then what is it you're talking about? And sometimes people look at you, say, why you still cannot hear me, so it's the frustration, it's not that I don't want to hear, it's just that I cannot hear. So I think this is something that when say miss, I think is to be able to connect to the world, to the hearing world. I think, then everything will come in, because your interaction with people, you can hear things that, in the past you cannot hear, even like birds chirping, water dripping, all these things. I think it actually adds to your, enhances your quality of life.
Mm, mm. That's good that you've regained all that. Yeah, all that now. Okay, let's see if there's another question. From Amy. What's the best sound that you enjoy and hear now?
Kieran.
Best sound.
Kieran.
Best sound.
Yeah, I think as I mentioned, right, that time when I lost my hearing, I was very worried whether I can communicate with my grandson, because my grandson is actually, is my joy. So I think to hear him call me Papa and then talk to me and then ask me, how are you? I think it is something best sound also, to hear my husband, his voice, and my children. I think these are things that actually important to me. Our loved ones.
Also,
Yeah.
Family members, grandchild,
Yeah.
children.
Christian songs.
Yeah. So I think also able to hear songs, in the
Mm.
worship, and hearing sermon from the church, Sunday service. So I think these are things that also in my Bible study, to be able to hear what people share, and then and then you're able to also share your views. These are, I wouldn't say that these are to me all the best sounds. All the best sounds.
Thank you. Yeah. So thank you for answering the audience questions, Kaiping and Audrey, and thank you to the audience for sending in your questions. We're very happy that we had an interactive session. And now I think before we end, we'd like to announce our lucky draw winner.
That's
I
another
think we randomly selected, and then let me just check.
No, there's one more question. That's all.
Oh, one more question. Okay,
Yeah.
before we announce, yeah, a bit more suspense. From Cecilia, is there any difference between normal and CI sound? What is the difference?
I think in the initial period, right, the CI sound is, because it's not natural because of this devices. Of course, you don't expect it to be as natural, but I think over time, right, it will get better and better. So actually, with my left ear hearing and my CI, actually the sound is quite natural to me. Okay, unless I actually take out, then I can hear something more. I should say, not so. Maybe I don't know what they use the word
Echo.
digitally or what. But other than that, I don't really have a lot of problem, like in the sense that there's a lot of difference. So it's like it's quite natural to me. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, and I guess I have one more follow-up question. Now that you have a CI, what are the grand plans you have in mind after COVID?
Yeah, I love to travel. I would like
Traveling, yes, yes.
I think everybody would like to go for they miss, a lot of them miss traveling overseas, whether in Malaysia or even the surrounding countries. So I think this is don't tell about grand plans.
Yeah.
Grand plans. But I think if if I can help somebody, to share my knowledge, I mean my experience with them, I'm very willing, because I know how the hearing impaired struggle, those people. So because I myself have gone through, so I think if we can actually help and improve their quality of life, and then to bring them to the hearing journey, I think this is something that I am willing to actually do that. Yeah.
Actually, to answer this question, in fact, 2019, end of 2009, she actually, 1 year after the implant, right? We went to Europe, to Scandinavia.
That's nice.
Yeah.
We
At
actually
least
see the northern lights.
So we hope to travel more after COVID, of course.
that's nice. Yeah. At least your last travel wasn't that period wherein you had to bring her back from US. At least you really were able to go travel.
I think Cochlear is no
holiday.
complication.
No.
The machine that detects.
Yeah. No, I don't have any problem, with the CI. In fact, I was quite concerned, because I think, Rinaldo, I did ask you, because
Yes.
the weather was very cold, so it was
Yes.
sub-zero temperature. So I only worry whether my CI can withstand the coldness. Then you tell me it should not be a problem. Yeah, true enough. No problem.
That's good to hear. Yeah. So we also have many recipients who live in very cold countries. So yeah, that should be okay. So yes, so thank you very much everyone for sending in your questions. Now it's time for our lucky draw, and I think we've managed to select our winner is Por Singh. So she's one of the one who registered via the link, and then congratulations. We'll be in touch with you on how you can claim your prize. Okay. So before we close the session, I would just like to ask Audrey and Kai Ping if you have any message for each other.
I think my message to my husband, I really want to thank him for walking with me, and then giving me this physical, emotional, and spiritual support. I know it really pained him at the time when I had this. I was in my lowest stage of my life. So I want to thank him for praying with me, praying for me, and being patient, and then giving me this positiveness that things will be better. So I really want to thank him. I really thank God that he's my husband. Yeah, and I really look forward to more communicative and fruitful life with him.
My message to Audrey is just continue to do well. I mean, I can see that she has regained almost full independence, but she doesn't need me to be the hearing aid, But she can drive. It's very safe because she can hear the traffic, she can hear the horn. Is any danger, right? Just and like any normal. So I just wish that we have many years of such enjoyment to come here.
Yeah, thank you. Such a touching message. I guess we'll pray for that for that to happen as well.
Yeah.
Really nice to hear that sweet message for each other. Maybe now for Audrey, what is your message out there for the audience or those who may be considering cochlear implants or are also suffering from hearing loss?
Okay, my message to those people who are actually having hearing loss, and you feel that hearing aids cannot help you anymore, or for those people, their loved ones, the family members who are actually struggling with hearing problem, my advice is that first of all, the best is to consult ENT doctor to check the suitability, whether you are suitable for cochlear surgery. And then secondly, if you can, talk to people who has gone through this CI surgery. Ask them question, find out about how they do, how they cope, everything. Then that will any doubts that you have, just at least clarify, so that this will give you that so-called the encouragement. And also thirdly, if you are actually considering CI, to also look at what are the brands of the device in the market. I think importantly is that we need to, to me, I look at the reliability, the established, how established this, this device has been in the market. And not only that, the so-called the long, it's trusted and reliable and established, and also the after sales support, the service they provide, and what kind of technology they have been leveraged on to actually improve all the devices that that we CI recipient can use to actually improve the quality of our life. For example, like now they have this connect to the handphone. We can actually can actually adjust anything via the handphone. So having all this information that you have, and then you have to then decide for yourself, because you have to ask yourself, do you want to improve the quality of your life by being independent, by being able to connect with the world, and not impose on your loved ones or friends or whoever to be your hearing ear? Because ultimately it is your life. You have to decide. So whatever decision you make, it is truly your choice. People can advise you, but you have to decide and make that decision yourself. So as a CI recipient, I think you should consider, because this is what those people told me, those CI recipients I talked to, they told me. And I am encouraged. And that's why I want to encourage people who are having this problem. So this is my message. So may God bless you.
Thank you very much, Audrey, for that powerful message. And we really hope that the audience found your sharing useful. So remember, if you know anyone with hearing loss, it's you should always seek help from your hearing professional to find out and if they can advise the appropriate solution for you. So you don't have to suffer in silence. With healthy hearing, you can be like Audrey. You can reconnect and stay connected with your family and loved ones. So thank you all very much for joining us tonight, and yeah, we wish you all a happy weekend. Bye bye.
Bye bye.